So these people from day one are being lied to and they're being deceived. Their own writings clearly demonstrate this. So then the next question one would have to ask oneself is, who then is allowed to know the truth of what's going on in the Masonic world? We must create a super right which will remain unknown, to which we will call those Masons of high degree whom we shall select. With regard to our brothers in Masonry, these men must be pledged to the strictest secrecy. Through this supreme right, we will govern all Freemasonry, which will become the one international center, the more powerful, because its direction will remain unknown. So then, there's an outside type of Masonry, and then there is a show Masonry. In other words, something's just being put out and then something's being kept behind the scenes. It is this which has served as the basis for our organization of secret Masonry, which is not known to, and aims which are not even so much as suspected by these chattel, attracted by us into the show army of Masonic lodges in order to throw dust in the eyes of their fellows. They also go on to state, Gentile Masonry blindly serves as a screen for us and our objects. This is pure Illuminati doctrine we're talking now. Because the Masons themselves were infiltrated by the Illuminati back in July 16th of 1782. Dr. Weishaupt and Baron Adolf von Koenig convinced representatives from the 23 supreme councils of the Masonic world back then to follow the Illuminati towards a seven-part plan which would lead to the creation of a new world order. And this was not some type of clever catchphrase that George Bush came up with on September in 1990 when he stood up in front of Congress. No, the New World Order is a very old expression and it's a very old philosophy. So then if Masonry is only so much show on the outside, what are they really trying to hide on the inside? We, and they're speaking of the Illuminati, shall create and multiply free Masonic lodges in all the countries of the world, absorb into them all who may become or who are prominent in public activity. For in these lodges we shall find our principal intelligence office and means of influence. All these lodges will be composed of these learned elders. The lodges will have their representatives who will serve to screen the above-mentioned administration of Masonry and from whom will issue the watchword and program. The most secret political plots will be known to us and will fall under our guiding hands on the very day of their conception. You want to know why so many wealthy people, so many powerful political people, why so many intelligent individuals are brought and recruited into the Illuminati, or in this case in the Masons? I think we already know the answer. Because through these people, their influence have multiplied in ways we can't even begin to imagine. But what's even more amazing, historically speaking, there was many, many people who were actively trying to warn America and others about what was going on in the Masonic lodges and what was going on with the Illuminati. But how many people were listening? In a letter dated 1785 from George Washington to the Reverend G.W. Snyder, he states, Reverend Sir, it was not my intention to doubt the doctrine of the Illuminati and the principles of Jacobinism had not spread in the United States. On the contrary, no one is more satisfied of this fact than I am. And he was the first master of the Alexandrian Masonic Lodge. But once he found out what was going on, he left only to fight against all this. 1798, the Reverend Jebediah Morse, who was the father of Samuel Morse, preached this part of a sermon, he stated, "The Order of the Illuminati has its branches established and its emissaries at work in America." The president of Harvard University, Joseph Willard, on July 4, 1812, stated, "There is sufficient evidence that a number of societies of the Illuminati have been established in this land. They are doubtless striving to secretly undermine all our ancient institutions, civil and sacred. These societies are clearly leagued with those of the same order in Europe. We live in an alarming period. The enemies of all order are seeking our ruin. Should infidelity generally prevail, our independence would fall, of course. Our republican government would be annihilated." Sir Winston Churchill, 1920, 3 years after the Bolshevik Revolution had taken place and they seized Russia. "From the days of Spartacus Weishaupt to those of Karl Marx, to those of Trotsky, Bella Kuhn, Rosa Luxemburg, and Emma Goldman, this worldwide conspiracy has been steadily growing. This conspiracy played a definitely recognizable role in the tragedy of the French Revolution. It has been the mainspring of every subversive movement during the 19th century. And now at last, this band of extraordinary personalities from the underworld of the great cities of Europe and America have gripped the Russian people by the hair of their heads and have become practically the undisputed masters of that enormous empire." Nestor Webster, in the 1920s, stated, "While these events," she was talking about the early stages of the French Revolution, "were taking place in Europe, the New World," speaking of America, "had been Illuminized. As early as 1786, a lodge of the Order of the Illuminati had been started in Virginia, and this was followed by 14 others in different cities. And one of them in particular was in New York City. The governor who headed this particular lodge of the Illuminati was Governor DeWitt Clinton. There are some very old bloodlines in the Illuminati. One of my favorites, the report of the California Senate Investigating Committee on Education, 1953. So-called modern communism is apparently the same hypocritical and deadly world conspiracy to destroy civilization that was founded by the secret order of the Illuminati in Bavaria on May 1st, 1776, and that raised its hoary head in our colonies here at the critical period before the adoption of our federal Constitution." This was back in 1953, not too far away. Time and time again, people have been trying to warn others about what has really been going on in this world. That there is a conspiracy, and that this conspiracy is headed by those people who are following Lucifer. These people are known as the Illuminati. They have their puppets and frontmen throughout the world. And unfortunately, with the Masons, as I stated before, 95% of them have been duped. They've been lied to. Most of them, they have been trying to do a good work. They really have been. Think of the Shriners hospitals, Shriners burn centers, the Shriners circuses. So many of them are trying to do a good work. But they have been lied to. They have been used as front people for over 200 years now. And what's interesting, do you know most of them have never read any of their own books from cover to cover? I'll tell you right now, if they really did, and if they would just read some of the stuff we have just gone over, I believe they would begin to understand that they have been lied to and that they have been used.